The vast emptiness of space stretched out before the Galactic Archaeological Society's ship, the Stellar Seeker. Its sleek, silver hull glinted in the light of a distant star as it approached a mysterious sector of the galaxy. On board, a team of alien archaeologists from various advanced civilizations buzzed with excitement. They were about to make a discovery that would change the course of galactic history. Captain Zorn, a tall, blue-skinned alien with 4 arms, stood on the bridge. His large, compound eyes scanned the ship's sensors. Suddenly, a series of blips appeared on the screen. Zorn's antennae twitched with interest. "We've found something," he announced to his crew. "Prepare for closer inspection." As the Stellar Seeker drew nearer, the team gasped in collective awe. Before them floated a massive fleet of ships, silent and still in the cosmic void. The vessels were unlike anything they had ever seen before. Their designs were crude by modern standards, with sharp angles and exposed metal. They looked ancient, relics of a bygone era. Dr. Xyla, the head archaeologist, a small green alien with tentacles for arms, floated up to the viewing window. Her big, curious eyes widened as she took in the sight. "Fascinating," she whispered. "These ships must be thousands of years old. But who built them? And why were they abandoned here?" The crew spent the next few days scanning and studying the fleet from afar. They took countless images and readings, trying to unravel the mystery of these ancient vessels. However, as more data came in, excitement turned to disappointment for many of the alien scientists. "These ships are primitive," scoffed Dr. Kraz, a reptilian alien known for his arrogance. "Look at their propulsion systems. They're practically antiques. Whoever built these couldn't have been very advanced." Murmurs of agreement spread through the crew. The initial excitement faded as they concluded that the fleet was nothing more than space junk, left over from some long-forgotten, less evolved civilization. But not everyone was so quick to dismiss the discovery. In a quiet corner of the ship's laboratory, a human researcher named Dr. Sarah Chen studied the images with intense focus. She was the only human on board, part of an exchange program between Earth and the Galactic Archaeological Society. Sarah's eyes narrowed as she zoomed in on one of the images. There, barely visible on the hull of one of the ancient ships, was a series of markings. They were faint, worn by time, and the harsh conditions of space, but they were definitely there. "Hey, Dr. Xyla," Sarah called out, her voice filled with suppressed excitement. "Could you come take a look at this?" Dr. Xyla glided over, her tentacles propelling her through the low gravity of the lab. "What have you found, Dr. Chen?" Sarah pointed to the markings on her screen. "These symbols. They look familiar. I can't quite place them, but I've seen something like this before." Dr. Xyla leaned in, her large eyes blinking rapidly as she processed the information. "Interesting. They don't match any known alien language in our database." For the next few hours, Sarah pored over historical records from Earth, comparing the mysterious markings to various ancient scripts and symbols. As the pieces started to fall into place, her heart began to race. "It can't be," she muttered to herself. But the evidence was becoming clearer with each passing minute. Just then, Captain Zorn's voice came over the ship's communication system. "Attention all crew. We've completed our initial survey of the fleet. As the ships appear to be of little scientific value, we'll be moving on to our next destination in 1 hour." Sarah's head snapped up. "No," she said, her voice filled with determination. "We can't leave yet. We're missing something big here." She rushed to the bridge, clutching her datapad. The other aliens turned to look at her as she burst in, out of breath and eyes wild with excitement. "Captain Zorn, Dr. Xyla, everyone," Sarah said, her voice shaking slightly. "I think I've figured out where these ships came from. And if I'm right, it's going to change everything we think we know about galactic history." The aliens exchanged skeptical glances. Dr. Kraz rolled his eyes. "Oh, please, human. What could you possibly have discovered that our advanced technology missed?" Sarah took a deep breath, steadying herself. Then, with a confident voice that surprised even her, she declared, "These ships weren't built by some primitive forgotten race. They were built by humans, my people, and they're far older and more advanced than anyone could have imagined." A stunned silence fell over the bridge. Then, slowly, it erupted into a mix of disbelief, laughter, and heated debate. As the chaos unfolded around her, Sarah stood firm, knowing that the real adventure was just beginning. The truth about the ancient fleet and humanity's hidden past was out there, waiting to be discovered. The Stellar Seeker hummed with activity as the crew prepared for their next mission. Instead of leaving the ancient fleet behind, they were now fully committed to uncovering its secrets. Dr. Sarah Chen's shocking claim that humans had built these ships had turned their routine archaeological expedition into something far more exciting. Captain Zorn stood at the center of the bridge, his 4 arms gesturing as he spoke. "All right, team. We have a mystery to solve. Dr. Chen, you'll lead the investigation. What's our first step?" Sarah, still processing the magnitude of her discovery, took a deep breath. "We need to get closer to those ships. The markings I found are just the beginning. There might be more clues on board." Dr. Xyla's tentacles waved in excitement. "I agree. We should send a team to explore one of the smaller vessels first." Not everyone shared their enthusiasm. Dr. Kraz, the reptilian scientist, crossed his arms and snorted. "This is a waste of time. There's no way primitive humans built something this advanced." Sarah ignored his comment and focused on preparing for the mission. She gathered a small team, including herself, Dr. Xyla, and 2 alien engineers skilled in handling ancient technology. As they approached the fleet in a small shuttle, Sarah's heart raced. The ships loomed larger than ever, their hulls pitted with micrometeorite impacts from centuries of drifting in space. They chose a ship about the size of a modern cruiser and docked carefully with its airlock. With their protective suits on, the team entered the ancient vessel. Inside, the air was stale but breathable. Emergency lights flickered to life, bathing the corridors in a soft, blue glow. Sarah ran her hand along the wall, feeling a connection to her ancestors who might have walked these halls. "Look at this," called one of the engineers. He pointed to a control panel covered in dust. "These systems are unlike anything I've ever seen." Sarah approached the panel and began wiping away layers of grime. Underneath, she found more of the strange symbols she had noticed earlier. "These aren't just random markings," she muttered. "It's a language, an ancient human language." Dr. Xyla floated closer, her large eyes blinking rapidly. "Can you read it, Dr. Chen?" Sarah squinted at the symbols. "Not entirely. It's similar to some ancient Earth scripts, but it's also different, more advanced somehow." As they explored deeper into the ship, they found more evidence supporting Sarah's theory. The layout of the vessel, while alien to the Galactic archaeologists, felt strangely familiar to Sarah. It was as if the designers had thought like humans, but with technology far beyond anything known. In what appeared to be the ship's engine room, they made their most startling discovery yet. The propulsion system was like nothing they had ever encountered. It seemed to bend the very fabric of space-time. "This technology," gasped one of the engineers, "it's centuries ahead of anything we have now. How could humans have built this so long ago?" Sarah's mind raced with possibilities. What if these aren't just old ships? What if they're from the future? The team looked at her in shock. Dr. Xyla's tentacles curled thoughtfully. A time travel experiment gone wrong, perhaps. It would explain the advanced technology and why the fleet was abandoned. As they continued their exploration, they found more clues. In what seemed to be the captain's quarters, Sarah discovered a partially functioning computer terminal. With trembling fingers, she activated it. The screen flickered to life, displaying a message in the same ancient script they had seen throughout the ship. Sarah leaned in close, trying to decipher it. I think it's a warning," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "Something about a great danger, a threat to all life in the galaxy." Just then, alarms began blaring throughout the ship. Red lights flashed, and the vessel hummed as long-dormant systems suddenly activated. "What's happening?" shouted Dr. Xyla over the noise. Sarah's eyes widened as she read the rapidly scrolling text on the screen. "The ship, it's waking up. And it's not alone. The whole fleet is coming back online." Outside, the other vessels in the ancient fleet began to glow with renewed energy. One by one, lights flickered on, and engines roared to life. As the team rushed back to their shuttle, Sarah's mind whirled with questions. Who had really built these ships? What was the danger they were warning about? And most importantly, what would happen now that the fleet had awakened? The mystery of the ancient fleet had only deepened, and Sarah knew that the answers they sought could change the fate of the entire galaxy. News of the ancient fleet's awakening spread across the galaxy like wildfire. The Galactic Council, a body representing all known spacefaring races, called an emergency meeting. Representatives from hundreds of worlds gathered in the Great Assembly Hall on the neutral planet of Centauri Prime. Dr. Sarah Chen stood nervously before the council, flanked by Captain Zorn and Dr. Xyla. The chamber buzzed with whispers and murmurs as aliens of all shapes and sizes discussed the shocking claims about the fleet's human origins. The council leader, a tall, ethereal being with glowing skin, raised a hand for silence. "Dr. Chen," their voice resonated through the hall, "you claim that these ships were built by humans. Yet your species has been part of the galactic community for barely a century. How do you explain this contradiction?" Sarah took a deep breath. "Honorable Council, I know it sounds impossible, but the evidence we've gathered suggests that these ships are of human design, albeit far more advanced than anything we currently possess. We believe they may have come from the future, or perhaps from an alternate timeline." The chamber erupted in a cacophony of disbelief and outrage. Many alien representatives laughed outright at the suggestion. "Preposterous," shouted Graktho, the reptiloid ambassador. "Humans are barely out of their stone age compared to the rest of us. The idea that they could build such a fleet is laughable." "I agree," hissed Selax, a serpentine creature from the Hydra system. "More likely, the humans are trying to claim credit for someone else's achievement." Again. Sarah felt her face flush with anger and embarrassment. She opened her mouth to argue, but Captain Zorn stepped forward. "Esteemed Council," his deep voice cut through the noise, "I understand your skepticism, but I have seen these ships with my own eyes. There is something unique about them, something that defies our current understanding of technology." Dr. Xyla floated forward, her tentacles waving for attention. "If I may, Council, while the origin of the fleet is in question, we cannot ignore the fact that it has awakened. Regardless of who built it, we must decide how to proceed." The council leader nodded gravely. "Indeed. Dr. Chen, what can you tell us about the fleet's current status?" Sarah activated a holographic display, showing the massive fleet now humming with energy. The ships are fully operational, but they haven't moved from their original position. We've detected massive energy readings, suggesting they possess power sources far beyond our current capabilities. "And what of the warning you mentioned?" asked a avian representative, ruffling its feathers nervously. "You spoke of a threat to the galaxy." Sarah nodded. "Yes, but we haven't been able to decipher the full message yet. We need more time to study the ship's systems and decode their language." The council chambers fell into heated debate. Some argued for immediately destroying the fleet, fearing it could be a weapon. Others insisted on caution, not wanting to risk interstellar war if the ships truly belonged to some unknown advanced race. As the arguments raged on, a small gray alien with large black eyes approached Sarah. She recognized him as Zexlo, representative of the Grey Corp Confederacy, known for their advanced technology and secretive nature. "Dr. Chen," Zexlo spoke in a soft, melodious voice, "my people are intrigued by your discoveries. We would like to offer our assistance in studying the fleet." Sarah hesitated. The Grey Corp were notoriously self-serving, but their technological expertise could be invaluable. Before she could respond, The council leader called for order. "We have reached a decision," they announced. "The human claim to the fleet remains unproven. However, the potential threat it poses cannot be ignored. We hereby challenge the humans to prove their connection to these ships. You have one standard galactic month to provide irrefutable evidence. If you fail, the fleet will be destroyed as a precautionary measure." The chamber fell silent. Sarah felt the weight of countless alien eyes upon her. The fate of the fleet, and perhaps the reputation of humanity itself, now rested on her shoulders. As the council session adjourned, Sarah huddled with her team. "We need to get back to the fleet immediately," she said, her voice filled with determination. "We have 1 month to unlock its secrets and prove to the galaxy that humanity is more than they think we are." With the clock ticking and the eyes of the galaxy upon them, Sarah and her team prepared to return to the ancient fleet. Little did they know that their greatest challenges and most astonishing discoveries still lay ahead. The Stellar Seeker raced back to the ancient fleet, carrying Dr. Sarah Chen and her team. They had only 1 month to prove humanity's connection to these mysterious ships. The fate of the fleet, and perhaps Earth's standing in the galactic community, hung in the balance. As they approached, Sarah gasped. The once dormant ships now pulsed with energy, their hulls glowing with an eerie blue light. It was as if the entire fleet had come alive. "By the stars," Captain Zorn muttered, his 4 eyes wide with awe. "It's even more impressive than before." Sarah nodded, her heart racing with excitement and fear. "We need to board the largest ship. If we're going to find answers, that's where they'll be." The team docked with the flagship, a massive vessel that dwarfed even the largest modern cruisers. As they entered, the ship's systems seemed to respond to their presence. Lights flickered on, and dormant consoles hummed to life. "It's like it knows we're here," Dr. Xyla observed, her tentacles twitching nervously. They made their way to what appeared to be the bridge. Sarah approached the central console, her hands hovering over the alien, yet strangely familiar controls. "Here goes nothing," she murmured, and pressed her palm against the main panel. Suddenly, the entire ship shuddered. Lights blazed to full brightness, and a deep, resonant hum filled the air. A holographic display sprang to life, filling the bridge with swirling patterns of light. "What did you do?" Captain Zorn asked, his voice a mix of awe and concern. Sarah stared at her hand in disbelief. I'm not sure. It's like the ship recognized me somehow." As the team watched in amazement, the holographic display began to coalesce into recognizable forms. Star charts, ship schematics, and streams of data in the ancient human script flowed around them. "This is incredible," Sarah breathed. "Look at this technology. It's centuries beyond anything we have now. The power source alone it's like nothing I've ever seen." Dr. Xyla floated to one of the secondary consoles. "Dr. Chen, look at this. These readings, if I'm interpreting them correctly, this ship isn't just designed for space travel. It can manipulate time itself." Sarah's mind reeled at the implications. Time travel. Could it be true? Did our descendants build these ships and send them back in time? As they delved deeper into the ship's systems, they made more astounding discoveries. The hull was made of a self-repairing alloy that could withstand the harshest conditions of space. The weapon systems could harness the power of stars. And the navigation computer contained maps of galaxies they had never even seen before. But the most shocking revelation came when Sarah managed to access the ship's log. "Listen to this," she called to the others. "Project Safeguard. Final entry. We've done all we can. The Devourers are coming, and we can't stop them in our time. This fleet is humanity's last hope. We're sending it back to warn our ancestors and give them the tools to fight. May they succeed where we failed." A heavy silence fell over the bridge as the weight of their discovery sank in. "The Devourers," Captain Zorn said slowly. "The great threat you mentioned earlier. It's real." Sarah nodded, her face pale. "And it seems humanity in the future couldn't stop them. They sent this fleet back in time as a warning and a weapon. Just then, alarms blared throughout the ship. The holographic display shifted, showing the rest of the fleet. One by one, the other ships were powering up, their systems synchronizing with the flagship. "What's happening?" Dr. Xyla asked, her voice tinged with panic. Sarah's hands flew over the console, trying to understand the flood of information. "The whole fleet is awakening. It's like they're preparing for battle." Outside, the massive ships began to move, their ancient engines flaring to life. They formed a perfect formation around the flagship, ready for action. As the team stood in awe of the power at their fingertips, Sarah realized the true magnitude of their discovery. This wasn't just about proving humanity's worth to the galaxy. They had stumbled upon a legacy from the future, a last-ditch effort to save not just humanity, but all life in the universe. "We need to warn the Galactic Council," Sarah said, her voice filled with newfound determination. "The threat is real, and it's coming. And this fleet, this is our best hope of stopping it." As the ancient armada came fully to life around them, Sarah and her team prepared to face not just the skepticism of the galaxy, but a danger beyond their wildest imaginations. The true purpose of the fleet was now clear, and the real battle was about to begin. The Galactic Council chamber was in chaos. Representatives from every known species shouted and argued, their voices rising in a cacophony of fear and disbelief. Dr. Sarah Chen stood at the center, her holographic image flickering as she addressed the assembly from the bridge of the ancient flagship. "Please, you must listen." Sarah's voice boomed through the hall. "The threat is real. The Devourers are coming, and we need to prepare." The council leader raised their hands for silence. "Dr. Chen, these are grave claims. You say this information comes from the future. How can we trust it?" Before Sarah could answer, alarms blared throughout the council chamber. A frantic aide rushed to the council leader, whispering urgently in their ear. The leader's face paled. We've just received reports. An unknown force has appeared at the edge of our galaxy. They've already destroyed 3 outlying colonies." The chamber erupted in panic. In the midst of the chaos, Graktho, the reptiloid ambassador who had mocked Sarah earlier, stepped forward. "Human," he growled, "it seems your warnings were true. What do these Devourers want?" Sarah's hologram flickered as she accessed the ancient ship's databanks. According to the records, they consume all organic life and energy in their path. They're not here to conquer. They're here to annihilate. As if to confirm her words, more alarms sounded. Reports flooded in from across the galaxy. Entire systems going dark. Fleets of unknown ships advancing with terrifying speed. "What can we do?" The avian representative chirped, fear evident in its voice. "Our defenses are useless against them." Sarah took a deep breath. That's why this fleet was sent back in time. It's not just a warning. It's our best hope for survival. The technology on these ships is centuries ahead of anything we have now. The council leader nodded grimly. "Then we must use it. Dr. Chen, can you operate these vessels?" "We're learning quickly," Sarah replied. "But we'll need help. This fleet was designed to be crewed by humans, but we don't have enough people with the right skills." Zexlo, the Grey Corp representative, stepped forward. "The Grey Corp Confederacy offers its full support. Our technicians are the best in the galaxy. We will assist in mastering these ships." One by one, other representatives pledged their support. Even Graktho, his earlier skepticism forgotten, offered the reptiloid's renowned warrior caste to help crew the fleet. As the galaxy united in the face of this existential threat, Sarah felt a glimmer of hope. But the challenge ahead was immense. Back on the flagship, Sarah and her team worked tirelessly to unlock more of the ship's secrets. Captain Zorn coordinated with incoming alien crews, while Dr. Xyla pored over the advanced weaponry systems. "Sarah," Dr. Xyla called out, her tentacles waving excitedly. "I think I've found something. These weapons, They don't just destroy. They seem to erase things from existence. Sarah rushed over to look. Temporal weapons, she breathed. They don't just kill. They remove their targets from the timeline itself. Just then, the ship's AI flickered to life. A holographic figure appeared. A human woman in futuristic attire. "Greetings, ancestors," the AI spoke, its voice eerily human. "I am the custodian. I see you've awakened the fleet. The Devourers have arrived, haven't they?" Sarah nodded, awestruck. "Yes, they're here. Can you help us fight them?" The custodian's expression turned grim. "I can guide you, but the fight is yours. In our time, we were too late. The Devourers had grown too strong. That's why we sent the fleet back, to give you a fighting chance." As the custodian began to explain the intricacies of the fleet's systems, reports continued to pour in. The Devourers were advancing rapidly, consuming everything in their path. Refugees from fallen worlds streamed towards the galactic core, desperate for protection. Sarah looked out at the assembled fleet, a mix of the ancient human ships and the most advanced vessels from every race in the galaxy. It was an armada unlike anything the universe had ever seen. "We're almost out of time," she said, her voice filled with determination. "We need to move now." As the combined fleet prepared for battle, Sarah couldn't help but feel the weight of history on her shoulders. The fate of not just humanity, but all life in the galaxy, rested on the success of their mission. The Devourers were coming, and the greatest battle in the history of the universe was about to begin. The combined fleet of ancient human ships and modern alien vessels hung in space, a last line of defense against the approaching Devourers. On the bridge of the flagship, Dr. Sarah Chen stood surrounded by a diverse crew of humans and aliens, all united in their desperate fight for survival. "They're coming," Captain Zorn announced, his 4 eyes fixed on the tactical display. "The Devourer fleet will be in range in 10 minutes. Sarah nodded, her face set with determination. "Is everyone in position?" Dr. Zyla floated nearby, her tentacles dancing over a complex control panel. "All ships report ready, Sarah. It's now or never." The custodian AI flickered to life beside them. "Remember, the key to defeating the Devourers lies in the temporal weapons. You must erase their ships from time itself." As the enemy approached, Sarah could see them on the view screen. The Devourer ships were massive dark shapes that seemed to absorb light. They moved with unnatural speed, leaving a trail of destruction in their wake. "All ships, prepare to engage," Sarah commanded, her voice steady despite her racing heart. "Remember your training. Trust in each other and in the technology we've been given." The first wave of Devourer ships entered weapons range. Sarah took a deep breath and gave the order. "Fire." The ancient fleet came to life, unleashing a barrage of energy, the likes of which the galaxy had never seen. Beams of chrono-energy lanced out, striking the Devourer ships. Where they hit, sections of the enemy fleet simply vanished, erased from existence. "It's working," Dr. Xylot exclaimed, her voice filled with hope. But the Devourers were not so easily defeated. They returned fire, their weapons tearing through space-time itself. Several Allied ships disappeared in flashes of unlight, their crews erased from history. "Evasive maneuvers," Captain Zorn shouted. The flagship shuddered as it narrowly avoided a Devourer blast. The battle raged on, a cosmic dance of destruction and temporal manipulation. Sarah and her crew worked tirelessly, coordinating the fleet's movements and targeting the most crucial points of the Devourer armada. Hours passed, and the tide of battle ebbed and flowed. Both sides suffered heavy losses, but slowly the combined fleet began to gain the upper hand. The custodian's guidance proved invaluable, helping them exploit weaknesses in the Devourer strategy that wouldn't be discovered for centuries. "We've got them on the run." Grakthos's voice crackled over the comms. The reptiloid ships had proven particularly effective, their naturally enhanced reflexes allowing them to navigate the chaotic battlefield with ease. But victory was not yet assured. As the Devourers retreated, their remaining ships began to coalesce, forming a massive, nightmarish structure. "What are they doing?" Sarah asked, her voice filled with dread. The custodian's hologram flickered with alarm. "They're combining into a nexus. It's their final weapon. A living black hole that can consume entire star systems." The Devourer nexus pulsed with dark energy, drawing in nearby matter and even light itself. Several allied ships, caught in its gravitational pull, were crushed out of existence. "We need to destroy it now, before it's fully formed," Sarah shouted. "All ships, concentrate fire on the nexus." The combined fleet unleashed everything they had, pouring chrono energy into the growing monstrosity. But it wasn't enough. The nexus continued to grow, its pull becoming stronger by the second. "It's not working," Captain Zorn growled, frustration evident in his voice. "We need more power." Sarah's mind raced. Then she had an idea. A dangerous, possibly suicidal idea, but one that might save the galaxy. "The flagship," she said, her voice quiet but firm. "We can overload the temporal core and fly it into the heart of the nexus. The resulting explosion should be enough to destroy it." The bridge fell silent as the implications sank in. It was a one-way trip. "I'll do it," Sarah continued. "I'll pilot the ship in." But Captain Zorn shook his head. "No, Dr. Chen. You're needed to lead the reconstruction after this. I'll take the ship in." Before Sarah could protest, alarms blared. The Nexus had locked onto their position and was drawing them in. "Looks like we don't have a choice," Zorn said grimly. "Everyone to the escape pods. I'll handle this." As the crew evacuated, Sarah turned to the brave captain. "Zorn, He smiled, all four eyes crinkling. "It's been an honor, Dr. Chen. Now go, save our galaxy." Sarah nodded, tears in her eyes, and raced to the last escape pod. As it launched, she watched the flagship, piloted by the heroic Captain Zorn, plunge into the heart of the Devourer Nexus. There was a moment of terrible silence, then a flash brighter than 1,000 suns. The Nexus collapsed in on itself, taking the last of the Devourer fleet with it. As the light faded, Sarah looked out at the battered but victorious fleet. They had done it. Against all odds, humanity and its alien allies had saved the galaxy. The battle was over, but the real work of rebuilding and preparing for the future was just beginning. And Sarah knew that humanity, once laughed at and dismissed, would lead the way. The galactic capital world of Centaurid Prime buzzed with activity. 5 years had passed since the great battle against the Devourers, and representatives from every known species had gathered for a momentous occasion. Today, they would inaugurate the new Galactic Defense Force, with humanity at its helm. Dr. Sarah Chen stood at the podium, looking out over the sea of alien faces. So much had changed since that fateful day when she first discovered the ancient fleet. Humans, once dismissed as primitive newcomers, were now respected leaders in the galactic community. "Friends, allies, fellow survivors," Sarah began, her voice carrying across the vast assembly hall. "We gather today not just to remember our victory, but to ensure our future." As she spoke, holographic displays flickered to life, showing images of the rebuilt worlds and the new ships based on the ancient fleet's technology. "The Devourers taught us a harsh lesson," Sarah continued. "We cannot afford to be divided. Our strength lies in our unity, in the combination of our diverse skills and knowledge." In the front row, Dr. Xyla's tentacles waved in agreement. The Hydrosian scientist had become one of Sarah's closest friends and advisors in the years since the battle. "That is why today, we inaugurate the Galactic Defense Force, a joint military and scientific organization dedicated to protecting all life in our galaxy and beyond." Cheers erupted from the crowd. Even Graktho, the once skeptical reptiloid ambassador, nodded in approval. As the applause died down, Sarah's expression grew more serious. "But we must not forget the price of our victory. We honor the memory of Captain Zorn and countless others who gave their lives to save us all." A moment of silence fell over the assembly. Then Sarah smiled and gestured to her side. And we must also honor those who made our victory possible in the first place. The custodian AI's hologram flickered into existence beside her. The AI had become an invaluable advisor in the post-war reconstruction efforts. The ancient fleet, sent back in time by our own descendants, gave us the tools we needed to survive. But it also gave us a responsibility to build a future worth saving. Sarah paused, looking out at the assembled representatives. We now possess technology centuries ahead of where we should be. We must use it wisely, not just to defend ourselves, but to explore, to learn, and to grow. She gestured to a group of young cadets standing to the side, a mix of humans and aliens, all wearing the new uniform of the Galactic Defense Force. These brave individuals represent our future. They will crew our new ships, explore the furthest reaches of the universe, and stand ready to face any threat that may come. The cadets stood tall, pride evident in their postures. Among them was Zorn's youngest child, determined to follow in their father's heroic footsteps. But the Defense Force is more than just a military organization, Sarah continued. It will also lead our scientific endeavors. We will unravel the mysteries of time travel, push the boundaries of our understanding of the universe, and work to prevent the dark future that led to the creation of the ancient fleet. Dr. Sila floated forward, presenting Sarah with a small device. And to that end, Sarah said, holding up the device, I'm proud to announce our first major initiative, Project Timekeeper. The holographic display shifted, showing a massive space station unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. This station will monitor the time stream, allowing us to detect and prevent temporal incursions. Never again will we be caught unprepared by threats from the future or the past. The assembly hall erupted in excited chatter. The implications of such technology were staggering. As the inauguration ceremony continued, Sarah took a moment to reflect. She thought back to that day on the Stellar Seeker, when she first noticed those strange markings on the ancient ships. How far they had come since then. The galaxy was entering a new era of peace, cooperation, and technological advancement. There would be challenges ahead, of course. The responsibility of wielding such advanced technology weighed heavily on them all. But Sarah was confident that together, they could face whatever the future might bring. As she looked out at the united faces of the galaxy's species, former enemies now steadfast allies, Sarah couldn't help but smile. They had laughed at the ancient fleet and at humanity's claims. But in the end, that laughter had turned to respect, admiration, and hope for a brighter future. The age of division was over. The age of unity had begun. And humanity, once the newcomers, now stood ready to lead the galaxy into a new era of exploration, discovery, and peace.